Brother Brad.
Thank you, brother. This paperwork. Good morning, everybody. We will be turning in our Bibles today to the book of Deuteronomy, specifically chapter 28. I think that's where we finished up last week. And we are getting near the end of the book of Deuteronomy. The book where Moses is reviewing God's law with the new generation that's getting ready to move into the promised land. And of course, some things that needed reviewing with these people because they had been in the wilderness for 40 years. And all the previous generation had passed away, save Caleb, Joshua, and Moses, who is not long for the world as he nears the end of this review. We will pick up, like I said, chapter 28 of the book of Deuteronomy, and I'll start reading in 16. But what we saw last week, like 28 verse 1, I'm going to read, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, and this is Moses talking to that generation, and to observe and do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. So this is a promise God's letting them, or Moses is passing on to them from God, and it's pretty self-explanatory. Obey what God has told them to do, and they will be blessed above all nations. And we know from years of reading and hearing preaching and Sunday school lessons, well, we know that they're going to fail inevitably. But at this time, you know, it's good news for these people as they going into this promised land. And, you know, let us not forget, too, that they're going to have to go into a land, even though it flows with milk and honey. It sounds all real good. I mean, it's a good land to be going to. But take these people, for instance. What have they been doing for the past 40 years? Wandering in the wilderness? Have they been growing crops? Have they been at all taking care of themselves, so to say? No. Who's been taking care of them? God has been taking care of them for 40 years. So if you think about that, this generation of people that's about to go into this land of milk and honey, they're not very educated on taking care of themselves. And as they go into this land, there's people there that's been living there a long time. The descendants of Ham, whose son was Canaan, of course. These are the Canaanites. And, you know, through tough times and good times, you know, we know Jacob left because there was a famine in that land. He went down into Egypt, so they've had some tough times. But those people that are living there, now we know they're not very good people for the most part. Moses has been warning them all this time. We've been reading this whole book of Deuteronomy. Don't worship these other gods when you get in this land. Don't do like these people do. So think it's going to be hard for this people when they go into this land of milk and honey. And God, you know, if they follow everything God says he will bless them with rain and they will be blessed in all ways. But it don't say that it's going to be easy, and if they don't watch it, they're going to turn to their neighbors or whoever the ones that are left there, been farming, been living in this land, and they're going to see that they've been kind of successful. And if they waver one little bit and kind of lean on the way that those people in that land are doing, they're going to fall. They're going to start going after false gods, and they're going to start doing like the Canaanites do. And that's what this whole thing, God's not warning these people because the odds are that it ain't going to happen. It's because it's probably going to happen, And God is giving them a warning of what they've got to look out for when they get in this land. So remember that. And all they got to do is obey. This whole book, we've been through this, is obey equals what? Blessing. Obey equals blessing. Obey equals blessing. Each chapter, just about every one, numerous times we keep reading over and over, obey and be blessed. All right, so we got that little background out of the way there, just to the state of mind that these people, this generation might be when they go into this land of milk and honey. And if they don't watch it, they're going to stumble. All right, so I'm going to read verses 16 through 19 of chapter 28 to get it started this morning. And let's see what we got. 28, 16 through 19. Promise of curses is at the heading of this section, just to kind of give you what we're looking at here. We're looking at some curses coming up, and that's, of course, if they don't obey. Verse 16, cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. 17, cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body. Of course, that's their children. And the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep is the livestock. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out, and that's traveling. So all aspects of life, if you look at it right here, is being mentioned. If they fail to obey God, and they go in, all aspects of life is going to be a failure. It's going to be a curse if they don't watch it. And also, we should also remember there that these people shouldn't expect, just because the city is not obeying God, that they all won't be punished, because right here it says they're going to be cursed in the city and the countryside. So it's a whole nation as a whole that God is going to look at them right here, not just little communities. It's going to be the whole nation as a whole if they don't obey God. Okay, 20 through 24 is next. Let's see what we got. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, that's anxiety, and rebuke, reprimand. They're going to be corrected in all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me, forsaken God. 21, the Lord shall make thee pestilence. That's epidemics. Cleave unto thee until he have consumed thee from off the land, whither thou goest to possess it. 22, the Lord shall smite thee with a consumption. That's a wasting away. In our not so distant past, I think tuberculosis was nicknamed consumption. And it's kind of just wasted away. It goes to show you the severity of this sickness. And with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with a blasting, and with a mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass. Now think about that. The sky is going to be like brass. It's going to be like a long drought. It's going to be without clouds. It's going to be without rain. This is how this nation is going to suffer. And the earth that is under thee shall be iron. How else can you better describe a drought, a long-term drought? The ground is hard as iron. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder, and dust from heaven shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. And that they should know, maybe not. It's been a while since the time of Jacob, but that's what happened when Jacob and his sons left Canaan, went down into Egypt. So it can happen in that part of the world, and if they don't obey, it's going to come again. All right, let's see. Now I'm going to read 25 through 29. I'll flip a little bit too far. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. They're going to lose in battle. Thou shalt go one way against them and flee 7 ways before them. They're going to be scattered like a severely defeated army, and they'll flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. They're going to be dispersed. They're going to be hauled away eventually if they don't obey God. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air. They're going to die on the battlefield. They're going to die in the land. They're going to die from starvation. And unto the beast of the earth is going to devour them, and no man shall fray them away. Nobody's going to put forth the effort to shoot the birds away and the beasts that devour their bodies. The Lord will smite thee in the botch of Egypt. That's like a skin disease, maybe leprosy. And with the emerods, and with the scab, and with the itch whereof thou canst be healed. All of those are like skin ailments, boils, tumors, hemorrhoids, etc. Scab, that would be like itch, scabies. So physically their bodies are going to suffer. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at the noonday as the blind gropeth in the darkest. That's just a testament of how spiritually blind they are going to be at this time. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. The severity of the punishment for not obeying is not understated here. And believe it or not, what they're going to suffer in the future, all of this is going to come true as their nation, their leaders become not just leaders. They take in worshiping other gods. They let it into their communities. They let it into their service. Their kings are going to be weak. All forms of disobedience is going to come. And in the days coming when Babylon is going to haul them off to Babylon. The Babylonians are going to take them. And the ones they don't take, they're going to kill. And the ones they leave there are going to be the weakest of the weak. And they're going to be tormented and terrorized from everybody, whatever's left in the land surrounding them around there. So they're going to go from a nice, beautiful, strong nation under King David and King Solomon till they're going to be dispersed in the land. And they're going to end up in Babylon. And they're going to cry out to God just like they cried out in Egypt. And God's going to come through. They will return. But anyway, I'm getting the cart before the horse. Now I'm going to read 30 through 44. All right. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine donkey shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another. They're going to be taken captive, their sons and daughters, and given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. There's going to be no way that they can stop this or prevent it from happening when their sons and daughters are hauled away. They're going to stand there and they're going to look, and they can't do nothing about it. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up. Their neighbors, think about the Philistines and the other groups that would come and raid them. We'll read about in the book of Judges when we come up. It gets so bad when they farm and it gets harvest time. Thine enemies from the neighboring lands will come in and take their crops. That actually happens. Okay, eat up, and thou shalt only be oppressed and crushed always, so that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. Oh, I got to go to 35. The Lord shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore botch, another disease that cannot be healed from the sole of thy foot until the top of thy head. The Lord shall bring thee in thy kingdom which thou shalt set over thee unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them, but shalt neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them. Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coast, but thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olive shall cast its fruit. It's not going to produce. It's going to drop early. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. The ones in their community is not like them, is going to actually become higher up and got more status than they do. Here in 44, and he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. And he shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. So the one doing the lending is going to be the one calling the shots, and it ain't going to be them. This goes the severity of their failure to obey obey the rules that God has given going into this land. All right, 37 there. That was they're just going to now should become an astonishment and a proverb. That's just going to be they're going to become a joke to the other nations surrounding them. How they were once the mighty nation, now look at them now. Everybody, they're borrowing money from everybody else. They ain't got no olive oil. They ain't got no crops. They're being led by the stranger. They're going to become a joke to the surrounding nations. 45 through 48 will be next. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake. That word's not to be overlooked or underestimated is the better word I'm looking at. Overtake. Makes me think of the race between the turtle and the rabbit we always heard about as kids. You know, the rabbits are running fast, but he's goofing off and doing things he shouldn't be doing, but the old turtle just keeps it going. Keeps making the right decision, puts one foot in front of the other, and eventually he overtakes. Well, that's the way these curses are going to get this nation. They're going to be so wrapped up in the things of daily life and the things that they think are important and their false gods and their pleasures. They're going to forget who gave it all to them, the God above, God in heaven. And slowly the curse is going to overtake them. It's going to come up from behind them. They're going to be running a race and they don't even realize the finish line is near, and then the turtle passes them. And that's going to overtake them. The curse is going to overtake them through when they think they're living things and all going good. That curse is going to overtake them. All right. Thee, when it overtakes them, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. And, they got to worship God just like it says there, for the joy and the gladness of heart, and all things would have been abundant. But they couldn't. They become distracted, worship of false gods. 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he hath destroyed thee. That's strong language, a yoke of iron. That's something that they can't shake. Once it's overtook them, they can't shake it. They're gonna have to work until the time is up. All right, 49 through 57. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as an eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. And whether or not, I'm not sure if they understood the language of Babylon or not at that time. But we do know two things by looking in our own history, or what's been recorded. We know Babylon overtook them, destroyed Jerusalem, hauled them back to the city. But also, there's another nation that comes along and does the same thing. It destroys Jerusalem, and it disperses the people because they cause too much commotion within that empire, and they finally make an example of them. And we know that nation to be Rome. And it marched its armies under the eagle. If you'll know I forget what it's, the standard they had was the eagle. And obviously the language they spoke was Latin. And I don't think it was no Hebrew that understood Latin probably at that time. If they were, they weren't many. So this could be a picture of what's coming into that second time that Jerusalem is destroyed and they're hauled off into captivity as well. So the things God warns these people and tells them about, think about it, it's all prophecy at this time. None of this has happened when Moses is telling them this, but in such great detail, Moses is warning them about what's actually going to happen. It's because God knows what the future holds. He knows what they're going to do, and they choose to do what God told them not to do anyway. All right, so let me finish up here. 50. A nation of fierce countenance. That definitely describes Rome, if you ask me, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kine, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustest throughout all thy land, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy God hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body. And we know this happened for sure in when Babylon besieged Jerusalem, that the starvation was so great and the siege went so long that they were devouring their own children. The flesh of thy sons and thy daughters, which the Lord God hath given thee, in the siege and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee. So that the man that is tender among you, just another way to say weak, and very delicate, his eye shall be, and very delicate, and he's broken, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. The weak men, the ones that make those weak decisions, we see how the siege is going to affect them and how they're going to perform, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left in him in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. The tender and delicate woman among you, which should not adventure to set the sole of her foot on the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil toward her husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in the siege, and straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. I need to say no more. I think it's self-explanatory. 58 through 62. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Lord thy God. That's how God is addressed just about completely all the way through this book, I believe. The Lord thy God. All capital letters. Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sickness, and of long continuance. Now these are not going, that's another term. It's how severe and how bad these are going to be if they fail to obey. Okay, 60. Yep. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou was afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. The very things they saw happen to the Egyptians, and their illness and sickness is going to overtake them. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them wilt the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. And ye shall be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest obey the voice of the Lord thy God. Diminished, not very many left, all because they failed to obey God. 63 through 68. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou go to possess it. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth, even unto the other, and there shall be serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. This is prophecy. This is what's going to happen. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease. We can look in our not so distant past and see that even World War II, this kind of stuff was still going on. Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and a failing of eyes and a sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and thou shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would God if it were even, and thou shalt say, would God it were morning. It's going to be so much stress, so much anxiety for these people. When it's nighttime, they're going to wish it was daytime. When it was daytime, they're going to wish it was nighttime. They're just going to be totally messed up. Endless agony is what it's going to be. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen. Even back in the Babylonian siege, and when they took over, when Babylon take over, some were hauled back to Babylon, some were sold as slaves into Egypt. So all that came to pass as well. None of that is foreign to us. If we read the ancient history from that time, we'll see. We can read and see what happened. All right. There again, they're going to be scattered, persecuted, suffer an unbelievable amount of sorrow just because they did not obey what they were told to do. All right, chapter 29. Well, we got another minute or two. More of need to obey. All right, I'm going to read verses 1 through 9. These are the words of the covenant which the Lord commanded Moses to make with the children of Israel in the land of Moab. And this is where they're at right now, getting ready to cross over into Jordan, or cross the Jordan into the promised land, into Canaan, beside the covenant which he made with them in Horeb. That's at Mount Sinai. So this is a new covenant being made with them as they're getting ready to go into the promised land. And Horeb is just another name for Sinai. And I'll end it there, and we'll pick up next week and start fresh on chapter 29. So make a note, and I'll dismiss